So welcome. Today we're going to make some amazing and awesome yummy Texas chili. And some of the ingredients we have here, ground beef goes in it.
Howdy there, little lady.
Hey there.
Did I hear someone say something about Texas chili?
Yes, you did.
That makes me so happy. I've just been out riding on my horse. This is my horse here. This is Tiny. It's a miniature.
He is tiny.
I'm just kidding. Actually, my horse is outside. I couldn't bring it in. I call him Thor.
Thor?
Yeah.
Is that because he's such a huge horse? Because that's really tiny.
No, it's because when I ride him all day, it makes my rear end a little Thor. But I see you've got a Texas cutting board in your kitchen.
I do.
That must mean that you are making some authentic, bona fide Texas chili in this kitchen.
That's the
Tell
plan.
me. Okay, so when Cookie makes it, when we've been out on the trail and riding the doggies and getting along, the Cookie gets the chuck wagon out and he makes it with some armadillo meat, some rattlesnake meat, plenty of gopher meat a lot of times. It's just any kind of meat you could want, we get in our chili. And it's you mix it in with some
Tastes
of
like chicken.
the prairie dirt, and man, it's just it's got a lot of character.
Prairie dirt?
Yeah, it's good. It's Cookie's a bad cook, but anyway, why don't you tell me what you put in your Texas chili, and I'd like to hear about it.
Okay. Well, we've got ground beef, and we put in bell pepper,
Yeah.
a lot of onion,
Oh, yeah, you gotta have onions.
and plenty of garlic.
Oh,
We love a lot of
Oh,
garlic.
yeah.
And we do diced tomatoes and crushed tomatoes.
That's good.
We also use quite a big amount of chili
The
powder,
more, the better.
cumin,
Yeah.
a little bit of oregano, and Worcestershire sauce,
Yep.
and just a pinch
just-
of brown sugar
Oh, that sounds
to
just right.
cut the acid
That's
just a
some good
little.
Texas chili.
And last but not least, we use beans.
What? Hold on. I thought you said this was gonna be some authentic Texas chili, and did you just say beans?
I sure did. I said beans.
Well, gosh darn, if that don't beat all. Everybody who's anybody from Texas and people from Indiana know that you don't put beans in Texas chili. It's meat and meat. I thought we were gonna have something good. I'm gonna go drink my sarsaparilla and drink off this sorrows of beans in the chili. I never.
Well, yes, we do put beans in our Texas chili. Beans are great, they're nutritious, and we love them. In addition to them being a budget-friendly family item, and it adds some vegetable protein to your chili and some heft without the expensive meat, if that is your concern. And so we use 1 pound of ground beef and it's 8 ounces of beans. Now, you can use any kind of beans in this chili, and we like to use small red beans, but you know what? I went to 2 grocery stores. Actually, I've been to several looking for these, but I have not been able to find the small red beans that I like. So these are light red kidney beans. You can also use black beans if you want to change it up, and also pinto beans are great in Texas chili as well. So you can use a lot of variety in your chili, but choose whatever bean you prefer and whatever bean you can find. So you don't have to soak these beans, but it's ideal if you can soak them for about 20 minutes while you're cutting up everything else, and then you can have those just a little bit moistened before you start. So Abraham's gonna come on and help me with this.
Hi there.
Hey, so I'm gonna put in the ground beef, and our Instant Pot is already on saute, so we're gonna brown up the ground beef. And then Abraham is going to show us how to chop up an onion. I love to use this wooden paddle to break up ground beef because it's kind of stout. It's really hefty, and it allows us to break it up into small pieces so that there's ground beef distributed all throughout our yummy Texas chili. So while that gets going, also I just wanted to show you, right now I have it on saute more, and you change the temperature by adjusting. On this Instant Pot, it's adjust, and you change it from less normal to more by pressing adjust with your saute function. So I can show you saute, adjust, less normal, more. It just cycles through. On some machines, if you just press saute over and over, it will cycle through those. And right now I have it on more. That's like high on your stovetop. So I still hear it sizzling. If it's sizzling too much or browning too fast, you can turn it down. It's just like low, medium, and high on a stovetop. So just turn it down if you need to. All right, Abraham, so show us how to cut this onion.
All right, I'm gonna slip on my cut glove to keep myself from getting cut. So first thing I'm gonna do is cut off this root end right here. This is the stem end, I'm sorry. This, that goes in there. We use the root and all the waste from onion in our chicken broth. And next thing I'm gonna do is cut right down the middle like that and peel off the outer layer. And sometimes it's not easy to get that papery layer off, so I just take the next layer off. I'm gonna do that on the other one. And now I'm going to cut in rays of the sun. So I'm gonna go in like that and cut toward the center. And I'm gonna do that on just all the way around the center. And this is a really easy way to get the dices good and small. I'm gonna cut across now like that, cutting pretty thin across the cuts I just made. And there you go. And I'm gonna do that for the other one.
Got some nice dices there, Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna give this ground beef a stir. It's browning up really nicely. You wanna make sure in your Instant Pot that if you have any browning that's sticking on the bottom, before you try and bring it up to pressure, you need to make sure that that is all deglazed and goes away, because that can prevent your Instant Pot from coming up to pressure. Or any electric pressure cooker would have that safety feature so that it prevents it from getting too hot. Sometimes we call that the burn notice around here. Some Instant Pots will have it'll give you a big sign on the front that says burn, really loud and clear and red. Okay, so our next ingredient is bell pepper. We like to use green bell pepper since we're using red tomatoes. And we're just gonna cut this bell pepper straight in half. And then the way that we core a bell pepper is just stick your fingers, 2 fingers fit right in here, and then you basically just pop out the center and pull out these ribs. You don't have to pull out those ribs, but we just kind of roughly pull those out. And that's a quick way to get the center and the core out of the bell pepper. Also, I'm gonna pull that little leaf off. Okay, and now we're gonna take our knife and we're just gonna hold this and make slices right down here and try to keep those as consistent as possible. We have a lot of children and we love to teach our kids how to cook, and it's a matter of training to teach them to be consistent with their slicing. So don't worry about it. Don't be perfectionistic when you're trying to teach children how to cook, because it just doesn't work. I just heard the Instant Pot beep behind me. That's our next batch that's already going, so we can show you at the end. And just chopping up this bell pepper. You can use any color bell pepper that you like. We love lots of different colors of bell pepper. It's so fantastic. And this one is a green one. If you like it spicy, you can also use jalapenos or poblano peppers, any kind of pepper that you want. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in the diced onion and let it cook up with our ground beef here. Okay, so now Abraham is going to saute or chop up the oh, he's crying. Are you crying because of that onion?
The smell of the onion is so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. You know what? Sometimes the kids, chewing gum, some people say, and some have experience, chewing gum can help take away the tears from the onion. So he didn't have a piece of gum right now, but sometimes my kids will be motivated to be the one to chop up the onion because they always can have a piece of gum whenever they chop up an onion. And my secret is contact lenses make it so that the onion doesn't bother me at all. If I'm chopping up an onion with my glasses on, I cry. If I have my contacts in, it doesn't bother me one bit. So show them how to chop up that garlic.
All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do, these cloves of garlic are really wrapped tight in that skin. It's super hard to get it out without, I can't peel it off without doing something. So I bang down on it. Let's see, with that
Bench scraper?
yeah, bench scraper. That's what it's called. Then peel it off. It's really easy after that.
And we also like to use a meat mallet.
Meat mallet is also works a lot better actually. So I'm just gonna peel that off. Do that for all of them. I'll go ahead and get all these out and just knock them all out.
It's pretty fun if you're have a little frustration you'd like to get rid of, huh?
Yep.
Just give it a little hammer. Watch out for the glass bowl though.
So now it's really easy to just peel that off. It slips right off.
Okay, you can use powdered garlic. You can use the fresh minced garlic that the store has. There's also a product that is frozen pre-minced garlic. Of all the quick options, we always have powdered garlic on hand so that in case we don't have time or don't have fresh garlic, we can just grab some powdered garlic. Also, if we have the refrigerated stuff that's in the glass jar, I find that has sort of a funny taste to it, but if we'll rinse it in a little mesh strainer, that takes some of that weird taste away, and then I like it better in the food. So I'm gonna go ahead and stir in all this yummy sauteing veggies, and we're gonna add just a little bit of salt to this. And I need some salt. Abigail's gonna bring me, this is a little grinder of salt, so that's coming out pretty good. That's about 1/4 teaspoon. So there's the salt. I'm gonna finish this bell pepper, and Abraham's gonna show you how to chop up some garlic with a knife this time.
Yep. So I'm just gonna chop pretty rough at first. Just kind of get them down to easier to manage chunks. I go the other way, kind of rotate the knife so I can get all the angles. And then I cut a little faster with a little locomotion. You see, it's kind of like the bar on a train, on a set of train wheels. So I just go all around that. Takes a bit of time, but it is, the smaller they are, the better tasting it'll be. All the flavor gets in to the chili. It tastes really good. Really fine pieces.
If your children are a little bit younger, we have our young children use this garlic chopper, or even, I like both, except you have to wash this if you use it. So little ones can chop up garlic, even 7-year-olds with your help and your assistance right there, can chop up garlic with a chopper like this. There's a good OXO one, Pampered Chef makes a good one. So that's a good way to allow little ones to get involved in the kitchen and cooking and chopping up some garlic. Okay, so next we are going to put in some chili powder. Our recipe calls for 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup. So I'm going to use my hand to measure, and I'm going to make a nice size pile right in my hand to show you about how much that is. But if you are a person who really likes to measure, then go ahead and use a measuring cup or the tablespoon. So that's about a 1/4 cup. It's a pretty good amount because we really like our chili powder. And then also I'm going to do the cumin. Cumin is delicious. It has a really warm flavor. You'll find it in Mexican food, Indian food, chili, and it smells so good already. So that's a really good mound of cumin. So be really generous with those. So we buy these really big spice amounts. I actually saw some at Walmart too. They had the larger amounts of spice, but we buy these instead of those seasoning packets. We buy them at like a big box store like Sam's, Costco, even Walmart has them. And I really like them because they're cheaper when you buy them in these quantities than they are if you buy the taco seasoning or chili seasoning packets. Plus, they don't have the chemicals in them, what is it called?
BHT or something.
Preservatives. And they don't have the agents in them that prevent them from caking, like silicon dioxide and chemical ingredients that you just don't even want to pronounce. So that's a way to cut out some preservatives and some processed foods really simply by just using your own spices. Plus, it's less expensive and they're usually fresher. And you can control the amount of salt in them. That's another thing that's usually a top ingredient in those is salt. So the other spice that we use is oregano. About a teaspoon or so of oregano. And I'm going to just go ahead and break that up. It smells so good. And now we're going to stir these in, and then Abraham's going to go ahead and add the garlic. And if you could have smell-o-vision, you would love it in here right now. We're just going to saute those just for a second. And, okay, Abraham, will you go ahead and open one of those cans? Let's see. The can of tomatoes. The can opener's right down there.
Awesome.
Okay, so about this can of tomatoes, and I'm trying to saute it here without letting it get too brown. And we're going to pour that can of tomatoes in and let it start making sure, deglazing the pot and make sure that it doesn't give us the burn notice. So about the tomatoes, this is a 28-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes. And they also have available the smaller cans of those same diced tomatoes at some stores. Actually, they have the small cans available at every store and the large cans available at some places. I found these ones at Walmart, and they were, for one thing, it's easier because you just have one can to open, but then also they were a lot less expensive for one of the large cans than for 2 of the small cans. The amount on the chili powder and the cumin was 4 tablespoons each, and 4 tablespoons is the same as a 1/4 cup. Okay, and I think I've got the bottom totally deglazed. There's no browning down there, and you can go ahead and add in those crushed tomatoes. Try not to splatter. Awesome. That is looking so good. Okay, and how about that Worcestershire and brown sugar?
Here we go.
Okay, so Worcestershire is about a tablespoon of Worcestershire that Abraham's sprinkling in there. That just gives it a real deep umami flavor. We found that it was just missing that tiny little hint, and it also adds some saltiness to your chili. And then just a tiny bit of brown sugar. This is about 2 teaspoons. It's not much. We like brown sugar because it adds just a tiny, tiny hint of molasses flavor, and it cuts the acidic level of the tomato so that you just don't pucker up when you take a bite. Okay, so now we need to add the beans, and we're gonna rinse those first. Oh, here is there's the strainer. We're gonna use just a mesh strainer to rinse out the beans. Anytime you cook with dried beans, you want to sort through those and wash them because they came straight from the field. So you just pick through, look for any sticks or gross looking beans, kind of rotten ones, and pull out any of those and just throw them away or throw them in your compost. And here are the beans. So if you totally reject the idea of putting beans in, you can stop at this point and add about a cup of water to the Instant Pot, because this is pretty thick, because you want to make sure that your Instant Pot will come to pressure. But if you're adding beans, now's the time to add the beans. And this is just 8 ounces of dried beans. So that's half a bag. Half of the bag that's on the normal grocery store shelf. And then, because beans absorb water, you need to make sure that you add liquid to your recipe to account for that absorption of the water. So we add 3 cups of water to the chili. And now you can see I'm getting close to the level of, I'm turning this around so you can see, getting close to the level of the maximum amount that we should pressure cook in the Instant Pot at. This is a 6-quart Instant Pot, and you want to, the maximum amount of volume that you should pressure cook in the 6-quart is 4 quarts. That's 2/3 of the total capacity. So we're right about at the 10 line on this Instant Pot. Others have a PC Max and it'll say 2/3, and that's the maximum amount that you should use to cook with. So, and now we have everything in here. Actually, it did call for a total of 1/2 teaspoon of salt, so I'm just gonna add 1 more 1/4 teaspoon. That's what this is. I think we've put everything else in. So we're gonna check our lid, make sure that that silicone ring seal is tight and installed correctly, and that all your parts are in place. We've added our liquid lid, and now we're gonna check the valve. Make sure your valve is on sealing. And then we're gonna go to the front. I've had it on saute, so that's been preheating everything that's in my pot. So I'm gonna press cancel, and then I'm gonna press bean chili. You could also choose manual or pressure cook, but because it's obvious we're making chili, we're gonna go ahead and press that button, and then we're gonna use the plus sign, and we're gonna adjust the time to 35 minutes at high pressure, and then we're gonna wait and let the Instant Pot beep to start cooking. Okay, a couple more words about cooking beans in your Instant Pot. Anything with acid in it, like tomatoes, sometimes even a ham hock, can slow down the cooking of your beans. So you want to make sure that you use the maximum amount of time to cook the beans. Then when it's all finished cooking and you get your Instant Pot open, you want to check the taste of those beans and make sure that they are fully cooked. You don't want to eat crunchy beans, but it's okay if they're not. If they're still a little bit crunchy, you can just turn that on for 5, maybe 10 more minutes of cooking under pressure, and they should be done by the end. Now, if you have beans that are 5 years old, then those can take forever to cook, and they might never tenderize. So if they're in a chili, you don't want to do this, but if you're just cooking a pot of beans, you can add a little bit of baking soda. That can help soften up old beans. Additionally, there's one more thing I was going to say, and I can't remember. Oh, your release time is part of the cook time. So we've been preheating that. That's part of the cook time to get it up to pressure, because it's going to come up to pressure quicker because it's already hot and almost boiling in there. And then anytime you're cooking with beans and or a really full pot, you want to have natural release time, and you want to let this naturally release for at least 10 minutes. And that's your beans are still cooking in there because it's still at a higher temperature than a boiling temperature. So the beans are still cooking, your flavors are still getting better and better, and so always wait when you're cooking beans about 10 to 15 minutes of natural release before you finish releasing the remaining pressure in your pot. So behind us, okay, so Abraham, thanks a lot for helping, and I'll see you a little bit later. So I've got our trash bowl here. That's going to go into our freezer, like Abraham was explaining before. We're just going to kind of clean up a little bit here before we open our other pot. It's smelling so good in here already just from those sauteing veggies and spices. So this one we put on earlier today. It is still up at pressure. This one is no longer at pressure, so I'm going to move it out of the way. And then it's not safe to move an Instant Pot under pressure, so please don't do that. But that one's not. I'm just moving that one out of the way. If you want to use canned beans, you can. And if you do that, then you're only going to want to cook the chili for about 6 to 8 minutes. It's on our website. We have the recipe, and we have specific instructions for canned beans or not using beans, and there are different times for each of those. Because the reason you're cooking this pot for 35 minutes under pressure is to make sure that those beans are fully cooked through and not raw. So if you're putting in fully cooked beans already, either canned or ones that you pre-made, then your cooking time is going to be less under pressure. I think I would put probably 8 minutes to let there be plenty of time. But on our website, we have that recipe. And our website, if you would go to that, is thecookingfamily.com. And on there, you can sign up for a course. It's free, and it's called the Fearless Newbie Instant Pot Mini Course. And we would love for you to sign up for that. You can also like us on Facebook. We are facebook.com/thecookingfam, and follow us on Instagram at thecookingfam. And we would love it if you would share us with your friends if you have enjoyed this video. And so we're about ready to open up this chili. Okay, I've got a tray here of things that we like to put on our chili. We've got sour cream and cheese, green onions, and my hubby and I and the oldest kid like to put Tabasco in there to spice it up a little bit. We also love to serve this in several different ways I'll tell you about in just a second. So we're going to go ahead and release this pressure. It's been on keep warm for 19 minutes now, so I've used the natural release for several minutes. And this is the Ultra, and we're going to reach over here and just press the release and let it go. If for some reason any chili might start spewing out of the top because it's a really full pot, I'm just going to carefully reach here and press that again and stop it. It's not a big deal. And you can also, if that starts to happen, you can also do a controlled release by pressing it and letting some steam come out, and then just at little spurts at a time. Okay, so we're going to let that release. Sometimes it takes a good amount of time for a full pot to release. It's a little bit longer when it's full than when there's not very much in the Instant Pot. So when we first got our Instant Pot, it was always kind of hilarious because when I would release the pressure, the dog would start to bark, the kids would all start to yell and laugh, and It sounded like a train locomotive was coming right through the kitchen, and it was just kind of hilarious and chaotic and crazy and funny all at the same time. Okay, so what we have here, I already told you that. We love to serve our chili in several different ways. And it adds variety to what can be a kitchen standard, but if you serve it in different ways, it seems like it's a whole different meal. We like to sometimes serve it over rice. We love to make Frito pie. That's definitely a Texas thing. You can buy that at the Texas State Fair and some outdoor venues where you just put a bunch of Fritos in the bowl and then put chili over the top with some yummy sour cream and cheese. And then, so that's rice Frito pie, just plain in a bowl with saltine crackers. That's how I always ate it growing up in Indiana. And you can also do with spaghetti and make it Cincinnati chili. We would love to thank the Instant Pot 101 for Beginners group for joining us today. We love having you guys with us, and we are so grateful to Gail for facilitating that for us. And also Gail is always on there answering questions and making comments, so we appreciate Gail so much. Thank you, Gail. We're still waiting on this to come down from pressure, and it's smelling really great in here. Smells like a Texas chili kitchen, because it is. This freezes really well. You can either freeze it at the point right before we started cooking it, like you could brown up your ground beef and dump all of the rest of your ingredients in a Ziploc and then have it ready and freeze it raw. You could also cook it and freeze it, like to have ready for a camping weekend. We love taking chili on a camping trip, but it's much better if we make it at home and then don't have all that work to do out on a camping trip. If you do that, some people will find a plastic bucket, like an ice cream bucket, that will fit down inside of your Instant Pot, and then put the Ziploc bag down inside there and freeze it in a round shape so that you can heat that up in your Instant Pot. There are other meat options that you can use with this. If you don't have or prefer ground beef, you can use ground turkey. Is going to be great. If you wanted to, you could use ground pork, and that would be fantastic as well. Even ground chicken. Another way that we like to do it is a vegetarian chili, and you can do it, we love to make it with black beans and sweet potatoes that are chopped up sweet potatoes, and that is so good. The sweet potatoes add a really nice sweetness to it, and it has a thickness that is so fantastic. Even us meat eaters love that. So I would encourage you to try it if you're having a meatless chili night. Do vegetarian with sweet potatoes and black beans. Okay, it just finally got all that pressure out, and we're going to open it up. And I'm going to open it up with the lid away from me. See that steam puff up, and it can be so overpowering. So always open it with the lid away from you, and then you can see that it's just kind of a little bit separated in there. And so you always want to give it a good stir. And the side of this is nice and hot now. Earlier it wasn't when we were sauteing, the top wasn't hot, but now it's super hot. So this is nice and thick. It smells delicious. And it looks fantastic. So excited to eat that. Okay, I'm gonna taste test just a bean and make sure those beans are done through. So I just got out a bean. I really recommend doing that before you even taste test for flavor, is just to make sure those beans are fully cooked and tender all the way through. It's always so hot coming straight out of the Instant Pot. Oh yeah, perfectly tender. Perfectly tender. So now we're gonna make a whole bowl here.
Here he is. Seems like I left my my little horse in here, and I just had to come back in and claim them. But I see while I'm here that you've got some of those terrible, awful bean-filled chili ready.
I do.
So I feel like I need to taste it just so I can prove to you how terrible they are.
Okay.
So, I don't know if I could trouble you for maybe a little scoop of that.
I'll let you.
Awful stuff. Terrible.
Terrible, terrible beans.
I'm going against everything that I hold dear. Well, not everything, but this is up there. With
I
the
know.
Alamo and with well, that's about it. Frankly.
Okay. Do you want to try it plain, or do you want me to go ahead and put the sour cream and cheese on there for you?
Well, I wouldn't turn down some sour cream.
Okay.
Some cheese, and I see some green onions. I think
Yes.
that will help mask the terrible, awful flavor of the beans that are sure to be overpowering.
Right.
And, might keep me from throwing it back up when I take a bite of those awful beans.
I think you might be exaggerating.
Yeah, well, it does look terrible. Let's try a little lap. Oh. Oh. I think I need another taste just to be sure that it really is as bad as I thought.
Does it need any salt?
I need salt, yeah.
Okay. What about Tabasco? Does it need a little Tabasco?
So bad. Yeah, some Tabasco wouldn't hurt either. I mean, I don't mean to trouble you or anything, but just, this is the best food I've ever eaten. The cookie's such a bad cook.
Has he ever made lizard chili?
Well, who's to say? We never know what he puts in, and we just put it in our mouth. Well, would you mind terribly if I take this with me to the campfire and just show the fellas how terrible this is? I just don't think they'll believe me any other way. If you don't mind,
Would you like to take a whole pot later?
I'd be much obliged. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're so glad you've been here. We hope that you guys will make some yummy Texas chili with or without beans and enjoy a great meal with your family.